Watching that video, I mean, I every time I watch it, I'm disturbed because the current market value or market like and I should say market value, but current market price, so to speak, for buying somebody is around $90 in most Asian countries. So about $100, you can buy somebody for their life. That's an astounding fact. When was the last time? What did you spend $100 on? Do you realize $100 given to an organization like this could actually buy somebody and rescue them? Um, they estimate that of the 152 million child laborers, that actually 10 to 15 are technically slaves, meaning their parents legitimately sold them and they were carried away and they will remain in slavery for the rest of their lives until they die. These are some pictures. If you go online, you can find this with it. You can find these images, and they're currently in the United States, in the world. There's an estimated 47 million people that exist as slaves. This is from the U.S. State Department. We were going to take a trip to Haiti, and what I've been told is the hardest thing to experience when you're in Haiti is seeing this in real life because it's so poverty stricken. We actually work alongside children that are harvesting and bringing water to people that own them. And these are children that are like 4, 5, or 6. And they go and they're owned by somebody. And I hope we can go and get to Haiti to let people's eyes open to how horrible this is and that this does exist in the world. I found it super shocking that smartphones actually, if you own a smartphone like I do, at some point slaves have actually built it. This is again from this U.S. State Department reliable resource. It says the likelihood that a smartphone was not touched by a slave at some point is really low. It says that one of the most worst forms of child slavery is actually where kids are sent to mine underground, where children start working at the age of 3, as pictured below. See, in our phones is these precious metals, especially something called cobalt. And in Africa, they mine and they use children. If you drive an electric vehicle, have it. Shrimp, 90% of shrimp that comes to the United States was actually using forced labor or slaves. It still happens today. And our consumerism actually causes it because everybody wants the newest smartphone. And when I throw out my old smartphone, I get a new one. Now, here's the thing. I want to be careful to say that not 100% of this is. Apple is not an evil one. Google is not evil in the sense that, but what they're trying to say is along the supply chain, most likely, it's almost guaranteed that slaves were used at some points. And why I told you this was heavy is because we often think of slavery as something that happened in our country many, many years ago, but it's happening today. And we aren't doing anything about it. So what is our responsibility with modern day slavery? KP points this out, especially in Asia, what their ministry does. He says the most tangible way we've found to bring hope for these poor families is to provide an education for their children, which often equates to freedom for many of these nations. Like that organization I showed you, what they do is they actually they go to these people and they buy the person back, and then they educate them and they help them get on their feet and they set them up for success. If you're interested in actually doing something, you can start researching. Otherwise, there's this ministry called Agape International Missions. It's a Christian ministry that focuses on ending slavery. They get these kids, they bring them out, they educate them, they take them to foster cares, they get them adopted, they pull them out and they educate them and they get them on the path for goodness. There's another ministry, it's not Christian, it's called endslaverynow.com, I believe, or .org. They have a list of thousands and thousands and thousands of organizations, Christian and non-Christians, that are working to end modern day slavery. So I bring this issue, because he talks about it just briefly in his ministry, but realize that, again, now that I've made you aware of it, do you have a responsibility to do something about it? There have been times where like major corporations have been found to be using forced labor. And so people have protested, they've written them, they've boycotted them, and they've actually changed their policies because of it. This was huge in the late 1990s and the early 2000s when this was all coming out, that this was what was going on. And while it still happens, it's got lesser with major corporations. And I just want to encourage you. I mean, imagine like one of your younger siblings, like your family got to a point where you're so poor that you had to sell one of your own siblings. Some of you are like, sell them already, right? Get rid of my sister. I'd be happy, brother. I'd be happy. But like, in all honesty, like it's traumatic or horrible that this continues to go on in our society or in our world. So again, if we were in class, we'd spend a whole day or two or three just discussing it, getting into resources and really working it through. And I'm just trying to like touch little bases of all this information to give it to you, hopefully motivate you and say, what is Jesus's heartbeat for this issue? Would he stand up? Would he take action? Would he do something about this situation? And so I think we have a responsibility to take action, to be aware, to raise awareness for it. I know I didn't give you any solutions. There aren't any easy solutions, but we can have the responsibility with the privilege we've been given to make a change.